take projection.
Everybody to Taking On Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing this week?
I am good. How are you today, sir?
I'm pretty good. I'm full up on my mother-in-law's Sunday lunch, so I might take a nap during this recording. So you might have to take it. But yeah, good old classic Southern, ham and greens and stuffing. And, oh, man.
Better than that.
Nothing much. We will begin this week in Tuscaloosa with the SEC regular season champion Alabama Crimson Tide hoops team. Clinched it in just a great comeback. Was that Wednesday night against arch rival Auburn? Down 17 in the second half.
Down 17. Yeah, things were not looking good at all.
No, it was one of those. If Alabama's going to have a bad night under Nate Oates, it's we're going to be missing shots, turning the ball over, and the other team's going to be making like everything, and that's how it was going for about 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes, and Javon Quinterly was definitely the difference Wednesday night, and he took it to a different level, and his energy just carried us. With that. He had really started right before, and then the whole skirmish and little fight, couple of ejections, and that totally changed the rest of the game. There, our energy level just jumped 1,000, and man, Javon just kept hitting, and Brandon came around a little bit. The defense picked up, and that. I guess that's the main thing I like to see is we need a more complete energy throughout because the last month or so, it seems like, we've been winning games, but pulling comebacks, showing up in the second half. You got to get back to getting some energy in the first half, especially heading into this SEC tournament and, of course, March Madness.
Absolutely, yeah. You mentioned Quinterly was definitely the spark, and as frustrating as he can be at times for Alabama fans, he definitely is a player that he's going to play an important role in any attempt to make the Final Four or win the championship.
For sure.
Just because he, probably besides, obviously Brandon Miller, he's one of the only guys on the team that can really create offense. He's frustrating sometimes. He tries to do a little too much. You feel like he's driving in the lane, getting shots blocked left and right. But when he is on, he can, take away defenders, find the open guy for three, or he can make that drive. He can beat guys off the dribble.
For sure.
And his energy and his leadership, especially off the bench, kind of like a 6-man role, is huge. Right. Like you mentioned, he completely turned the tide of that game. No pun intended.
For sure. And the energy he brings. Yeah, when he, sometimes he just too fast for his own good. I've had some issues with turnovers there, and But, you got to think about, it's amazing that, he's even playing to this level. It hasn't even been a year since he tore his ACL.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the fact that he was able to, not only come back and play, but accept as a 24-year-old senior who's had, quite the, as touted the talented, when he came in, transferred from Villanova, as we know, and, kind of things didn't end up as we would have liked last year, and then, his ACL, and then they accept coming off the bench in that situation. That takes a big man, to do that, to come back and, accept the bench role like that, But, definitely helped us there. But we definitely need him in March because, he handles the ball a lot and brings a lot of passion, and you like to see that. And he just has to, play cool, and we can work. Even yesterday against A&M, just the turnover aspect, we just gotta slow down at times, make smart decisions, and other things just get going quicker in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reiterate everything you mentioned there about Quinterly. He's an integral part of this team, and he's going to be vastly important as we come up to March, and there's one and done tournaments we're in now. And you touched on something else that I want to talk about too. it's a bit concerning. You mentioned over the past month or so these slow starts for us, and it's great that we can come back. These big comebacks we've had, even in a loss to A&M yesterday, they were down big and made it a game late, and
Right. Yeah.
before Miller fouled out and A&M got that late turnover. But yeah, that's got you can't do that in March.
No, you can't.
You might could do that, get away with it in the first or second round
Yeah, when
against
they
team
went to
you're
16. Yeah.
yeah. Once you get to that second weekend, no, you can't. You do that against a
And you really can't even do that in the 8-9 matchup.
no, yeah, and especially once you get. I mean, looking at Lunardi's latest bracketology, our 8-9 would be Maryland or Florida Atlantic. That's their 8-9. That's a
Yeah,
tough matchup,
the matchup.
And then you get,
I know.
our 4 or 5 in that scenario, is Virginia, Iowa State. Like, you can't go down 15 to one of those guys.
No.
Um,
No, definitely not. Especially, a Virginia team that's, most known for their defense.
that will
And, you
slow a
can't,
game down.
yeah,
And
slow it. You
yeah,
can't go down 10-15 against a team like that at all.
no.
So,
But again, regular season champions,
regular
second
season,
time in, but 3
for
years?
3 years. And it's only third time in history.
Yeah. Hopefully, we can do what we did 2 years ago and win the
For sure.
regular season in the tournament.
Yeah.
Go in on a high note. I had the bracket pulled up and then I lost it
We
here.
play with Florida, the Florida. I don't know. I think saw it earlier. Can't think. It
Yeah,
was
it's the
the
Florida
Florida.
Mississippi State winner,
Yeah,
I want to
Florida
say.
Mississippi State winner. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. I can get it loaded real quick here.
Got the sweep against Mississippi State. One time against Florida. Kind of a dominating mid-February win there against the Gators. Had a struggle there in. We won pretty handily in Starkville, but had a struggle in Tuscaloosa. But at that point, a lot was going on with the whole Brandon Miller situation. I think they kind of
Mm-hmm.
had things looking a little different then. But that's definitely going to be a matchup. You're gonna have to show up for it because both teams. Uh, Mississippi State a pretty physical team there. Florida, they've been kind of up and down, but they'll be up
Mm-hmm.
for it. And we've had our definite struggles with Florida in the SEC tournament at times. So when we've
Yeah.
played them a couple
Uh,
times, so
yeah,
that'll be a
absolutely. They're kind of one of our nemesis, them. And, I think we've talked about it before on here, but always
Kentucky.
seeming to draw Kentucky in the damn. But we're on the opposite side of the bracket as Kentucky this year, at least. So,
Exactly. So that'll
but would have a chance. Looking at got the bracket now. Like we
play
said, we play
Tennessee
the.
in the semis.
Yeah, there's a possible. We Alabama's first game is noon Central Time Friday. But like we said, we play the winner of Florida and State. The other side of that, Missouri's the 4 seed with the bye. They will play the winner of Tennessee versus either the Ole Miss or South Carolina winner. Obviously, probably Tennessee. So there's a chance Alabama could get revenge for that loss to Tennessee in the semis, and then maybe see A&M in a championship game,
All right.
and get back their 2 conference losses this year.
Yeah.
Well, but the SEC tournament, crazy. You never know what's happened. I actually watched that SEC story this week, the Miracle 3, about the was it
Oh, when it's
2009 SEC tournament when Georgia
when
won it all. They were the worst team in the league, and then went. And that's when the
oh yeah,
tornado hit the Georgia Dome, and Macau
yeah,
Riley's 3 ended up
Cal
probably
Riley hit
saving a few lives.
saving some lives.
Yeah, but crazy how that happens. You just never know.
Yeah,
And we've seen crazy things. I think was it when we were in school? Was it Rod Gazard dropped like 33 in a first round game against Tennessee or something like that? The SEC
yeah.
tournament, just you never know.
The tournament, especially when it's even playing field, especially when you don't know. Of course, we know Kentucky's dominated that thing
Mhm,
90% of the time, but they're not. I mean, they're a good team this year, but it's not the Kentucky of old. So yeah, so it's a couple of teams that could definitely win it. If things get going right, and could definitely
mhm.
win the SEC tournament. So yeah, I'd say 4 or 5 teams definitely could win the whole thing. So we just have to come out and play our ball or get started earlier. And the other thing, that we do well, but we get away from it. If the threes aren't falling, let's just
Mm-hmm.
drive the lane. Let's make the get to the foul line.
Mm-hmm.
Cause them to drive the lane like they were saying last time. Middle. When we were in the middle, middle of the court, driving the lane, like things were going well for us. But when we were, slowing up or um, going for the three, and the three had not been falling for us the last couple of games. I hope that turns around in Nashville because I know
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of our bread and butter, either that or driving. But man, when that three's not gone, we gotta hit the lane, and we have the athletes to drive the lane. We have a lot of speed. A lot of guys can, you know, um, drive the lane and get a layup or get to the foul line. So
Yeah,
we're gonna have to do that.
absolutely. Yeah, no, we're really good on that pick and roll game too, guys. Like we get
Yeah.
Bidiaco and Clowney involved. Those bigger, taller
Yeah,
guys that can really
that's
roll off that. And we're great
right.
at those lobs, man.
Yeah, we are definitely
Bradley
good
or Quinterly, somebody. They can hit that pick and roll drive and then find that backdoor lob.
for sure.
Get those guys involved on the misses. Getting offensive rebounds.
Right. Because I
Which
would
we did.
like to. I mean,
Mhm.
Clowney is a talented guy. I would like to see him get some more touches, some opportunity, get his confidence going early because,
Mhm.
I think he's another integral part where he's gonna have to have some big moments there for us. I heard one of my other friends as a little thing, and they were talking about who past Alabama players kind of remind him of him. Clowney, they said, if he could step up into that Chuck Davis type of role, something like that. Because I
Mhm.
think, I think that's a kind of the player he kind of reminded me of there. And Betty Yako more the Jamario Davison type, I would say. But
Mhm.
even if we could get him, eight points a game, he hasn't. I don't know. He just hasn't been around the rim as much. It doesn't seem, or had as many putbacks as of late. And I think we're gonna need some of the inside game as we, in this coming up weekend. Of course, at least in that second weekend of the tournament, because
Mhm.
know, because we're gonna, because that's the other thing too. I think we're gonna have to work on our rebounding,
Mhm.
second chances, not letting other people get second chances. Because it seemed like Auburn and A&M got a lot of second
Second
look.
chance points, yeah, a lot of. And another weird thing we haven't been doing lately is, especially I noticed in Auburn, we were actually winning the turnover battle,
Mm-hmm.
but we weren't converting their turnovers into points for us. It was weird. Like at
Correct.
one point in that game, I think they had twice the amount of turnovers as us, but we hadn't had a single point off of one of their turnovers, and they had about
Yeah.
10 off of ours, and that's big. And then
Yeah. That's
sometimes
not
it's
normal.
just yeah, and sometimes it's just frustrating stuff. Yesterday, A&M was perfect from the free throw line. Some you just can't
Mhm.
something you
Oh,
can't do anything about that.
yeah.
But like you said, we need to get Clowney and Bediako involved more. And I think another good comparison to past big guys, Jermichael Green.
Yeah.
He's another big guy that had a
Sure.
little more range. Kind of like
Correct.
Clowney. He can
Yeah.
pick and
For sure.
pop sometimes, and but yeah, we need to get them involved. We need to toughen up on the inside a little bit because we're probably going to run into one of these big beefy centers that Oklahoma
Yeah.
or Gonzaga threw at us this
Exactly.
year that
Yeah.
really hurt us.
Doubles. Yeah.
But yeah, quick go over that SEC tournament for everybody. So the buys to the quarterfinals obviously are us as the 1 seed, Missouri's the 4 seed, A&M is the 2, Kentucky is the 3. For all their disaster season they allegedly were
And
having, and
that's
talk
still
about
right there.
Calipari out. Yeah,
Right.
they're still the 3 seed in the SEC
Still the
tournament,
three seed, over
and
20 wins.
mhm.
Got a big win yesterday in Fayetteville. Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a deep run in the
yeah,
tournament either. The first round, the Wednesday games, the 13-12 games, Ole Miss, South Carolina, 14-11
mm-hmm.
is LSU, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Second round, we mentioned State versus Florida, Tennessee versus the winner of that Ole Miss, South Carolina, Arkansas versus Auburn. They will play A&M, and then Kentucky will get the winner of Vanderbilt versus the LSU, Georgia winner. So that again, that all kicks off Wednesday evening. From Nashville this year, as you mentioned, should be a good tournament this year.
Yeah, should be.
And championship week's always a great time. maybe not as good as it used to be. Like those old school Big East tournaments used to be the highlight.
Oh man, where are they? Yeah, when you had
Oh man, the
Big
Iverson Allen
Q,
year, I remember that. The
man,
Iverson
that
Ray
was
Allen.
phenomenal. Just
Oh,
the championship matchup. I mean, you can't get better than that. Two two of the greatest, shooting guards, just putting up numbers back and forth all game.
heavyweight
And
fight, just trading
oh man,
haymakers. Yeah,
and,
I remember one of
even
the weirdest fun memories. Not fun, but a memory that I have that's oddly fond is our senior year, at least my senior year, my last semester of school. I got sick.
hmm
Ended up with mono. Ended up missing spring break. Being in the hospital. But before that, being at the student health center in Alabama, and they put me in a room and gave me the remote to the TV, and it was the first day of the Big East tournament.
oh
And they were,
man,
trying to diagnose me, or the
right.
UA health system. Here's a Z pack, sleep it off, kid.
Yeah,
But so they had me there when they said, "Oh, you just had the flu." No, turns out that was wrong. But yeah, just had in that little dark room, put down that Big East tournament. I was like, all right, I'm good here. This is
yeah,
better than class.
for sure.
But
That Big East tournament used to be a, dandy. Even when we were in school, Hughes had some crazy runs at times. I know Jerry McNamara went on that five game run there, won
oh
the
yeah.
Big East there. Kimball Walker had some
Mm-hmm.
crazy things at
Just about to mention it. Kimba literally put the UConn team on his back and carried them not only to a Big East title, but
and
a
then
national
the
title.
national title. That was it 2011, and
Yeah.
back in some of those Pittsburgh teams in the early 2000s were pretty legit when they had Ben Howland was the coach, and then
Mm-hmm.
even the TCU coach now, um, Dixon. They had some phenomenal guard play, tough point guards. Uh, yeah, the Big East tournament used to be everything. Now the I one of my favorite things that a lot of people like to see is these smaller tournaments, just because that's the only way to get into the tournament, and just the joy that those young men have making tournament, knowing that they're going to get slaughtered in that 116 matchup, but just the opportunity to just to make the tournament, because the only way they're going to get in is that winning that tournament, and especially when you have those special upsets where a team that's maybe at or right around 500, goes on a hot streak and able to knock off the conference champion, or the second, third, and make it to the NCAA tournament. That's one of my favorite things of conference championship week, is just those little conferences, and it's a joy, because that's your one time to really get on national TV and you know get some possible famous moment there. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I know. We used to love Arch Madness there in St. Louis, the
oh
Missouri
yeah,
Valley Conference, especially with you growing
it's
up,
phenomenal.
part of your growing up in Carbondale with Southern
Yeah,
Illinois.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
playing their championship game today, are they not? Yeah.
yeah,
I think right
yeah.
now, actually, Bradley and Drake
Yeah,
fighting
I
for
think
that.
it was a blowout.
Hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw like a 20-point game there. But yeah, that used to be a really good conference, Missouri Valley, when it was like Southern Illinois, Creighton. They used to pull three teams, sometimes four
Mm-hmm.
teams into the tournament for a mid major. That was pretty
Yeah,
good ball.
they were the big boy of the mid major tournament. Yeah. Was it the team that almost beat Duke on that buzzer beater? Butler. Were they a Valley team or no? They were
No,
a
they were the what is but they're out of the
Ohio Valley, maybe? No, they were
no
a
they're
different conference. I can't remember.
yeah, that's a yeah. They were but yeah. Butler has that's phenomenal in itself that they made two Final Four championship games in a row. The year that they almost beat Duke at the buzzer beater, and the next year they got beat. They lost to Kimball Walker and UConn. But
Mm-hmm.
for a mid major like that to make the uh, national title game 2 years in a row, that was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, really a testament to the coaching of Brad Stevens there too. That is a guy. But yeah, we got some finals going on now. The Atlantic Sun, Kennesaw State, and Liberty are playing a close one now.
Mm-hmm.
couple of semifinals going on. Let's see, as you mentioned earlier, let's see. Not a conference game, but Houston pulled out a squeaker over Memphis today.
Yeah.
I think they actually hit a buzzer beater to win that.
Memphis
see,
is
the
one of
Big
those teams.
South. Yeah, UNC Asheville won the Big South tournament today. Drake, did blow out Bradley in the Valley Conference final.
Yeah.
But it's always a fun time. Championship week. We mentioned before, college basketball isn't what it used to be, but it's still a great. This time of year, it's hard to beat.
Hard to beat. I mean, just the passion, the upsets we'll see. I don't know. I think it's one of the most pure college feels you get as far as just the passion and just the love of. You see the love of the game that maybe you don't see as much anymore, but March seems really, change the whole feeling of the college game there. So.
We'll move quickly. I guess we have to address it off the court, of course. Since we last recorded, reports of Brandon Miller's a little more involvement in the murder case from January than expected or first acknowledged. He either depending, they haven't really officially announced it yet, but according to his lawyer's statement, unknowingly transported the murder weapon back to Darius Miles. It was his gun. He had left it in Miller's car earlier in the day. Miller had gone to the club with them, decided the line was too long. He'd rather go eat dinner. Did that. They texted him back for a ride, and he came back, according to his lawyer's statement, about around an hour after the first initial text to come get them for a ride. And then here's where the timeline gets hazy, but at some point is when Darius Miles texted him that he needed his gun back. According to Brandon Miller's lawyers, he was already on his way back to give them a ride when he got that text. We do not know if he saw it or not,
Yeah.
But obviously, police have all that knowledge. When Miller has been cooperating, they've decided not to charge him with anything. He is not being treated as a criminal. He is a suspect of any kind. He has been treated as a witness, a participating witness too.
Right.
And so, with that said, Alabama has chosen not to discipline him any. And this has really caused a firestorm with a lot of sports writers past couple of weeks. The first day that came out, I feel there was some really irresponsible journalism going on. There was a couple outright, a couple AL.com articles that just blatantly said that he transported the murder weapon. And that's lazy. It's clickbait writing, and that's unfortunately the way things are. You got to get your page views today to get paid.
The likes, yeah.
And you got to get your likes and your engagement on social media.
Right.
But you got to have some journalistic standards. I mean, we both were in the school there. We both took those classes. And I don't know, what they're setting themselves up for legally. And I don't think there may be something, there may not be, but it's not certainly, Clay Travis's clown outfit and outkick that said it was Miller's gun, and stood by that story. But we all know Clay Travis is a joke anyway.
Clay Travis, I mean, he's just a Tennessee hater. But that's for a different thing. But a lot of it, it's a tragic situation to say. Young lady lost her life. Sounds like from everything, senseless murder. Nothing that could have escalated to what it did. But the way that Brandon Miller has been treated, like he just knowingly, like they're treating him like he pulled the trigger, like he is the shooter, like he, has direct involvement with this whole situation, and for the most part, he's handled it pretty well. He's had some big games. The whole pat down thing, I know is an issue, but it's something that he's been doing all season.
And that's not a police pat down thing, according to him. It's like an MMA, a boxer. But again, obviously that's something that somebody, Coach Oates or somebody, should have had the knowledge to step in there and be like, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't do this going forward.
Because, that's what I was, my bad. But that's what I was thinking there too. Like, if he's done this all season, you would have thought someone's seen this. And then, Coach Oates said, well, I've never seen it. It's one of the assistants I know have seen it. Yeah, just with everything going on and the negativity that's, everybody looking and everybody's, never really watch Alabama basketball like they're watching us right now. Because we're not a basketball power, so I mean, we're getting a lot of random people watching just because of everything that's going along with it. So of course everybody's looking at that, knowing they've never probably don't even know who Brandon Miller was before.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, we know a lot of casual people but I think I thought for the most part UA handled it well, just because I mean, what can you really, other than a PR from a PR standpoint, can you really, a man who by all accounts has done nothing wrong, it led to a tragic situation, but he wasn't involved in the fight. He had from what sounds like, he had no knowledge, wasn't around for the whole altercation, and was en route to pick up the guys. Like I just, so much that, and then, everybody just suspend him. From a PR standpoint, I could see where that may have come from, and I'm glad UA, didn't do it personally. And then people can say, "Oh, you're a homer, you're a fan," but I would feel the same way for, any athlete that it hasn't been proven wasn't directly involved, not the shooter, not, no criminal activity going on. I mean, it's not like he has a history of things. So I applaud this stand. I applaud his effort. It's hard for anybody, but I mean he's a freshman, and that's a lot going on, and he's handled it I think pretty well for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many layers to this that I feel a lot of these articles, I think I responded to a couple of writers this last
Mm-hmm.
week about, it's just, at what point are you just being kind of pious and sanctimonious and self-righteous? And, they can, and I feel like a lot of it was, they're just trying to use this young lady's name for clicks, and that's,
Oh yeah, and that's bad in
almost,
itself.
yeah, exactly. That's a disgusting act in itself.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe any of them. They didn't, mention her name anytime between the
Mm-mm.
murder and the initial investigation. The release
All
of
right.
the findings and investigation, the pretrial motions. None of them said anything. None of them had a problem with Miller playing then. And
Exactly.
right now, you suspend him now. What do you do other than you're just giving the mob what they want, the quote
Yeah.
unquote blood that
But
they want, and
yeah,
that
that's
what does
not
that teach him? What lesson are we teaching him now?
right.
Um,
And then
maybe if
also,
you're, go ahead.
no, my bad. Then you look at it too. Other, future possible Alabama people see, well, dang, they didn't stand by their guy.
Exactly. Yeah. What maybe, for some that say, well, maybe they should have suspended him initially, even if he's just a witness or something. Well, maybe I could see it, but at that point, what everything seems like is they didn't know that, the gun was in his car at some point. And, like I said, there's a lot of irresponsible stuff getting out, that he had purposely blocked in the victim's car, and that's just not how that happened. We know that street in Tuscaloosa, it's a very small street. A lot of those streets around the strip are, and he had parked there, and then the victim ended up parking behind them. So that's not an intentional blocking. There's a lot of times that you've been blocked in Tuscaloosa if you park on
Oh,
a
yeah.
small street like that, just because it's, so much infrastructure has been expanding and
Yeah.
more, clubs and bars go up in a town that really can't handle that many more. But yeah, I think he's acted great. Like I said, yeah, there's a couple young moments. He's a teenager at the end of the day. Teenagers make dumb mistakes. They don't always have the, so many people on social media been like, well, if my friend texts me at 1 a.m. and wants his gun, I wouldn't do it. I'm like, well, you're a 38-year-old man. Like, of course you wouldn't.
Yes,
Like,
I've said that plenty on just comments, and
mm-hmm,
yeah, we're looking at it from people that have experienced college.
mm-hmm,
We're 35, 40, some
mm-hmm,
people 50 years old. We've experienced life. Of course, now at our age, we're not going to go out at one to give anybody a gun. We're
mm-hmm.
not even, most of us probably not even going to go out to pick up anybody unless it's our own kids,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Who's really getting you out of your house at 1 a.m. these days?
no,
Like
but
that's,
not many people are. Like, most of us,
that's a
honestly, we're
short
sleeping.
list.
Yeah. And if we're up, we're watching Netflix or a late game or something. We're not doing a whole lot that we were doing in our 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at it from a lot of different ways. I look at it like this. Let's say, when you're 19, 20, and he's just recently 20, you guys text you and say, hey, let's say that he saw the text and said, so and so, Jared's mom said, hey, man, I need my gun. At that point, if we're boys, and I'm looking at, and this is all my speculation, just, I don't know, at the college age, when if you got a text and you felt your boy was in trouble, or maybe he's getting jumped, I mean, many of us are gonna go, right? I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, hell, we have firsthand knowledge of it when we were on spring break. I mean, you being a loyal friend of that, I got a little MIP, minor in possession charge,
right,
and cops handcuffed me. One of our hotel neighbors, I think, told y'all who were around the
yeah,
back of the hotel, who comes around that corner. Greg comes storming around that corner, ready to fight cops because his boy's getting
yeah.
locked up. He's
Like, what's
loyal.
going
Or
on? Like, come on, bro, we're literally on our back
yeah, we
porch
were
of
chilling on
the
it.
hotel.
Yeah, I mean that's a different story altogether. I can be
Right,
that
but
$300 Bud
but
Light I paid for bullshit, but
yeah,
2 weeks from
yeah,
my 21st, but that's different. Or hell,
yeah,
I think even later that week, we were at a Lil Jon concert, which was
right.
definitely a great experience for spring break and PCB.
Oh man,
And we thought that our boy Travis was in a
yeah, we
fight.
thought we thought we were ready to go.
And yeah, we were ready, to get through that until oh, no, that's not him. All right, we good. We good.
That's not even him. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but that's what you do. You
and
don't
we don't
think about
even.
the consequences like, oh, wait, those are
Oh yeah, we
7
just
dude.
ready
That's
to
the
go.
offensive lineman for,
Yeah,
Florida
of course.
International right there about to whoop our asses. That's,
Yeah,
but yeah, exactly.
you
Someone
don't.
texts you, your boy texts you that he needs you, you go. And
That's just
of
what you
course, we
do with
wish
that.
that, yeah, maybe in the grand, again, we don't know the exact timing of the text or if he read
Really
them
don't
at
necessarily
all.
even like that. Like we don't know that. I'm just
Mm,
thinking, me personally, at that age, like even if it was that clear, I'm probably going. If
hmm
that's my boy, we hang out, and you know, I dropped you off at the what's the name? Yeah, I'm probably gonna go because I don't want nothing bad to happen to you. But and that's
Yeah.
the
And,
you know the worst of the that's the worst of the worst. And I don't even think it was necessarily that, but you got like everybody's looking at it from a lens of we're 35, 40, 50, and have way more life experience, and we're not doing the same things we're doing at 20, which of course you're not supposed to be doing. But we're not looking
exactly.
at it from their aspect, and I don't think a lot of people are thinking like that. And I mean, we just have to realize these are young guys, college guys, and things like that happen. Now
And
everything
that's
else
how
is
you
tangible,
learn. You
right?
live through these experiences. And yeah, you would, of course, hope that if, Brandon Miller got the text for a gun, his buddy had a gun, that he would either be like, no, man, like, let's not do that, or just go there and be like, get in the car, we're leaving. But again, we don't
Right.
know. We weren't there. We can
Yeah, we
only
don't.
go off the facts that we know and what the police say. And if the police, trust us, Tuscaloosa police, if they had anything they wanted to charge Brandon Miller with, he would be charged.
Oh yeah, they're
That's
not.
just,
They
they are
have a.
not shy. This is not a police department that like protects,
They really
Alabama
don't.
athletes historically.
It's not the.
Or even Alabama students. We've all had you. If you've lived in Tuscaloosa any amount of time, you've had a run in with the TPD.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, like my situation, I got hot last week a couple times over some articles. Pat 40 had a couple that I was like, nah, man, like you should be more experienced in this. And I don't see. One thing, I don't see a lot of people writing articles this week. That unfortunate news with Georgia coming out and Jalen Carter.
All right.
The street
Sure.
racing, it led to a couple deaths. And I don't see calls for him being, kicked out of the draft. And like, I'm
Right.
not saying he should be, but I'm just saying that you got to understand a couple things. We can't place mature, you can't project your mature decision making on 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
Yeah.
They're
Exactly.
going to make dumb mistakes. And unfortunately, this one led
Some
to a
mistakes
tragic
have
loss
bad
of life.
outcomes.
Yeah, but it's also not the first time a teenager has made a mistake unknowingly and it's led to
Yeah.
loss of life. How many kids get in
Right.
car wrecks because they do dumb shit,
Yeah. It could be they were drinking. It could be they just didn't put on their seatbelt. It could be they were texting.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's so many
exactly.
different situations that everybody's like, oh, it should have happened like this or it should have happened like that.
But
Man,
yeah, I just think
like
a lot of the discourse around it, a lot of so many fans calling for blood. Oh, he should be kicked off the team. Oates should be fired. And look, the university absolutely fumbled in the handling of this. They should have came out. If they knew he was a witness right away, they probably should have came out in a statement when it first happened and be like,
exactly.
we've kicked
It
Darius
sounded
Miles
like
off
it
the
was
team.
known.
Also, two of our other players were there, but the police have, let us know that
Yeah,
they're only witnesses, so we will not be disciplining them. They absolutely, if the story, the university has, is that when Oates made his very poor comments, wrong place, wrong time, that he was coming right out of practice and was not aware of the investigation that, the
right.
reports from that pretrial that came out that morning. That's a failing on the Bama PR department. Someone's got to pull him aside right after
So,
practice.
hey,
But hey,
bro,
coach, this is
this
what
just happened.
happened. You're going to get asked these questions. Like, here's either the
Here's what
statement
we
you want
like
them to
to
read,
say.
or just be
Yeah,
like, hey, we don't have a comment on that until we can learn further. No.
yeah.
So
Just so
yeah,
you're
obviously,
aware of the. Yeah,
yeah,
you got.
university,
That's
yeah,
one of them hits you with the. When we're aware we're looking into things, or something,
hmm
something generic that's not gonna. But yeah, when you're coming out for practice, and let's say it was a bad day of practice, for example. Things didn't go what that went. That's the
hmm
first thing you hear coming out of practice. You probably not, probably definitely wasn't handled right, but you could see, where that happened. You definitely have to get pulled aside and be, hey, coach, this is what's going on.
hmm
And it sounds like, I mean, it sounds like somebody should have known from the get go, because obviously the Tuscaloosa police knew from the get go what had happened. And from the get go, I said there's nothing we could charge him with because there was nothing illegally done by him. And
exactly. And I think that's a big point that a lot of these writers were missing and calling, for his head and all of that noise is that, hey, the police gave the university no reason to suspend him. But yeah, no, I do think, yeah, obviously university probably could have handled this better in a
right,
couple of spots, but there's no reason to call for blood. And I feel a lot of it too, you hate to play this
right,
card sometimes, but I do feel like if these were two country boys from, South Alabama or something like that, say, and one of them was like, hey man, I left my hunting rifle in your car. Can you bring it back to me? And then
oh
later that night he shoots someone. I don't know if this gets as much press. And
yeah, no,
yeah, and that's, there's something that you have to say that, and there's something to say for that. And I think this,
that does have something to do with it,
yeah, I
especially
think,
in an area that's really 2A, and everybody has a right to have a gun.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. A lot of people that are big Second Amendment champions and everybody's a right to gun, all of a sudden, we're like, well, Brandon Miller should be locked up. There's a lot of
That's
criminalizing of a young black man that, it's
yeah,
been not cool and like very kind of see through, kind of like, okay, like I see what's really
exactly
happening here,
right.
and for some of these writers to do it, it's been, disgusting. Some of it, I expect. There's a couple of these AL.com writers, which, okay, clickbait, AL.com gets a lot of this, it's a lot of clicks and a lot of
Yeah,
trash. And it's like, okay, sure. You write your little self righteous, pious article about how
yeah,
Alabama should fire everybody. But, if
yeah.
Brandon Miller was a bench rider, a walk on kid, you going to write this article? I don't
No,
think
no,
you are.
no.
And, so at this point, yeah, what good is it to suspend him and punish him?
Exactly.
I just read something. He was left off the finalist list for the Wooden Award,
Yeah,
and
that's
you're going to tell me that he's not even a finalist for the best player of the
for the
year?
best. Of course, he should be on that list. Just like he
Absolutely.
wasn't on the. Just like when he wasn't this last week when he dropped his big game against South Carolina,
hmm
and he wasn't even on the Player of the Week list. Like,
Oh yeah, and it's
come on.
ridiculous. Yeah, and look,
And
Zach
even
Edey might be the runaway favorite for that, and he's probably going to win it and should.
no,
But you tell me Brandon Miller, who's the best freshman in the country this year, he doesn't deserve it? It's bullshit.
come on, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even even our athletic, and I think some of it may need to cut back on comments and stuff, but they have no even the UA stuff even to have Brandon Miller for a while and none of the pictures. So I was like, come on, man.
Hmm.
Clearly, he's the reason why we won that South Carolina game.
Absolutely,
Give
yeah.
the
Career
man
high
his picture.
41, made
41.
the game tying and game winning
Yeah,
layups.
right.
Um, but yeah, so I'm sure that's something that we're going to continue to have to talk about, or
Oh,
have to hear
for
about
the rest of
as
the time.
the tournament goes on. Yeah, in the SEC and the NCAA.
For the rest of the time that Alabama's in the tournament, you
Hmm.
know, and it may not be as vicious because neutral site games. So, but I mean, he's gonna hear the lock me up stuff, and that's just how people are. But I think he's handled it pretty well. He's had some pretty big games since then. So, I think if anything, that's a good. And look at it from our perspective, I think it's a good, overall rallying cry just for everybody to come together, protect each other, go out there and play hard for each other because at the end of the day, he's been looked at as public enemy number one and drawing a lot of ire of, folks. And we're getting a lot of eyes than we normally don't get, just as the Alabama basketball program. But, I think, yeah, we'll see it for the rest of March. And, we just got to play our game, not let that affect us. And, I think we'll be fine with it as a program.
Absolutely,
Overall,
and
I like how we handled it. There's no reason to get rid of Brandon Miller unless something crazy were to come out, which doesn't seem to be far from the case. Nothing of the like. Talking about get rid of Nate Oates. Like what? How do you get rid of Nate Oates? Like what basis do you have other than one comment that wrong place, wrong time? Other than that, we don't know what he known, what he was told, and it's not even his decision to kick a player off a team like that.
hmm
It's something big like that. That's going to come from higher up than the
hmm
head coach, I would say.
yeah, and I saw a couple on that point. I saw a couple things being like, well, last year they suspended so and so because he wasn't, working hard enough in practice. I'm like, well, that's a completely different situation.
A whole different.
Obviously, if Brandon Miller, I have all the confidence in the world. If Brandon Miller was slacking off in practice, Nate Oates
Yeah,
would not hesitate to bench him, or at least be like, "You're not starting. You're coming off the bench this game." We've seen him do that in his time in Tuscaloosa. He is not afraid to put a star on the bench
no,
if they're not pulling their weight.
fact.
Yeah, so I think again, all of this is kind of like angry mob,
Oh
just
yeah,
looking for blood, and at this point, suspending him doesn't teach
doesn't
any lessons. It doesn't do anything other than appease the mob.
yeah,
And again, like you said, if something comes out later that he, was more directly involved and he's charged, then yeah, punish him. But as of right now,
that's
the university's been given no
indication of it
reason to take action.
to do anything. And yeah, I mean, and then long worse. We all know the angry mob in a week or two is going to move on to the next big thing to be
Hmm.
mad. People forget all about this.
Yeah,
At the day, a lady was murdered, and that's the focus of it. It sounds like two people are in jail for it. Someone's gonna do X amount of time, so it's not like someone's not the people that are involved in the actual murder are. It's not like people are getting away with stuff. You know,
exactly. Yeah,
Like, it's not like she's been murdered and something's been covered up. People are in jail. People are going to court. Like the things that are supposed to happen are happening. So,
exactly. Yeah, and like you said, the most important thing is all this is a young lady. Family lost their daughter. A young boy lost his mother.
mom,
Or young child. I'm not sure, boy or girl, but and that's the point. If these, some of these writers actually cared, and they really, instead of just throwing her name out there, if
yeah,
they actually cared, they'd write articles based on, how gun violence disproportionately affects women of color. You want to write a real article about the problems? Let's write it. Let's get real. But you're not
yeah,
willing to do that. You just want clicks,
yeah,
and you just want
exactly.
to attack a star player.
Yeah. Or, if you want to look at it from her perspective, give her, her kudos of maybe what she's done, how good of a mom she was.
Hmm.
She's went to college, seemed to have her life together for the most part, from what I understand. Give her kudos, right? Write a good article about her and, maybe come up with ways that, hey, let's put some together for the kid,
Hmm.
it doesn't have a mom. I mean, I don't know who. how involved his dad. We don't know that. I haven't heard anything about that. But but the young guy, no, never, he was I think 3 or 4, so not gonna have a great memory of his mom. But let's put a scholarship together for him. Put some funding
Mm-hmm.
together. Something that benefits him long term. Because just going back and forth about this should happen and that should happen, that's not solving anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's probably
That's we
as all
kind
as we. I mean, that's basically the whole podcast right there. But we're good on that, and yeah, like we said, we'll see this week. We're in Nashville, try to win the tournament, and then we'll see where we're at next Sunday in the selection show.
for sure.
We can move to the pro game. Really, not much else we'll touch on for this podcast, but a few things. We'll move to the pro game. That's. I guess we could stay off the court real quick. Ja Morant seems to be getting himself in more and more trouble every day.
Yeah.
He is now going to be, I guess, voluntarily involved. I'm not really sure. It's not an official
2 game
suspension.
suspension.
Is it? Yeah, like a
2 game
2-game, possibly more suspension while the NBA investigates some behaviors of his.
At the
There's been
club
some
with
reports
parents,
of.
IG.
Yeah, there's been a lot of. First started with reports, him, threatening a security guard, possibly slapping a teenager at some point after an altercation in a pickup game.
Yeah.
Maybe one of his crew members pointing a laser guided gun at the Pacers team bus or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this video that comes out with him in the club with a gun. Just a lot of, like kind of, we're talking about bad decisions. A lot of, like stuff from a guy who is a pro now and making money, So we'll see. I don't think there's much to speak on that until the investigation concludes and we know more.
Yeah. And I would say the main thing with that, it doesn't seem like you grew up a thug. They came from seemed like a pretty normal 2-parent household. Didn't seem like you grew up in the projects, anything like that. And I mean, people are gonna act how they're gonna act, but I'm just saying, like, this seems to have come as of late. He's fitting into that Memphis mode. And that's one thing to buy into the whole, the city, and then the Grizzlies kind of have done that. We talked about that. The Grizzlies are, they fit the city well, their attitude and everything. But once you leave the court, you got to go back to the Ja Morant that everybody knows. And you're a charitable guy. You help out your community. You're a good guy. Like this, it's not needed. Like,
yeah, realize as a pro, not only just a pro basketball player, but one of the more well-known players. The spotlight's big on you all the time, no matter where you're at.
You have
and this is a case where you can
looking
expect him to make more mature decisions. He's still a young man, but he's getting paid a lot of money. I did see one point, a little comical in a dark way, but on the internet, I wish I could give credit. I forget where it was, but it was basically saying if your dad is part of your entourage, isn't he there to tell you to not do this dumb stuff, man?
Right. It seems like your dad is living it up.
Exactly. Like if your dad's, what's the point of having dad there? Because I mean, I know you can say this. Your kid's a little bit older. I was in mine just turned 4 months, but I'm pretty sure in the future, if I'm in my son's entourage, I'm gonna be the one to be like, "No, don't do that dumb shit, man. What are you doing? That's dumb." Yeah. If you want to do dumb shit, I'm not here. But yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. Memphis still.
It seems like he's just got to cool out and realize, hey, the thug life is not what you know, for the most part. Like, people are going to respect you more for just being a basketball player. Like, you don't have to live this. People aren't expecting you to live a certain life.
Yeah, you guys are still
the basketball player.
You guys are still the 2 seed in the West, man. Like you got real NBA championship potential. Yeah.
Yeah. So much to play for. You're one of the best players in the league. People love you. You don't want to do, when you're off the court, just chill out.
Yeah, just remember that. Go have fun at the club, man. Rent those private rooms. Make it rain like Pac-Man Jones.
Yeah, do all that.
But yeah,
hey, man,
don't do the dumb shit, man. Don't do the dumb shit.
You gotta slow down. You gotta have someone around that's got to be that person. Hey, bro, chill out a little bit.
Yeah, and if you're getting in altercations, that's why you got security guys, man.
Yeah,
That's why
someone
you
else
hire
handles
those.
that. You
Yeah,
don't do
yeah,
that yourself.
exactly. You can afford to pay people to handle that kind of stuff,
All
man.
right.
Keep that stuff quiet. Keep it,
Exactly.
so it isn't a thing. So it's nothing to talk about.
Right. Because
Instead of Ja Morant was in an
until
altercation, it's some dumb
right.
guy tried to start beef, and Ja Morant like let his 6'8", 320 security guard be like, "No,
Exactly.
we ain't doing this," and then it's not
Because
a story.
we before the last month or two, we've never heard anybody say anything negative about Ja.
Mm-mm.
There's never been any stories of this, that, and the other going on.
Nah,
So,
yeah. So, but yeah,
hopefully they
again,
figure it out and he gets it together because he's too talented of a guy. He's and it's just a situation you don't want to see. We've seen it with other athletes and it kind of affected things, and you don't want to see that with him because he's I don't know, just
no, yeah,
a
young,
situation.
exciting, explosive
Yeah,
player, one that you
and
can
it's
really put as a centerpiece, not only your franchise but as the
as
league,
a
and then
league, yeah,
and a young team, all in general.
yeah.
But
And
yeah, like we
then
said,
also
on the court,
with the
they have so much
kids,
to play for. Exactly.
yeah. Then
Yeah.
with the kids too, he's a role model. A lot of kids
Hmm.
these days are looking. We've seen people, of course, have loved Steph for a while and all that, but a lot of guys now, man, I want to be like Ja.
Hmm.
We don't want to see, you don't want to see the negative stuff with that. So, but
For sure. We'll move on the court now. I mentioned, the Grizz, second place.
despite
Uh,
everything, they're still right
Despite
there.
everything, still second place. That's that lead they built up. In terms of people making playoff pushes now, where do we at? Let's see, we're playing about the 60, so we got around somewhere 15 to 20 games left for teams in the season now.
What
Hottest team in the league right now, the New York Knicks, man, 8 in a row.
8 in a row?
I think unbeaten since they got Josh Hart, which is not
Yeah.
I loved his time in New Orleans. He's a great role player.
Oh
Wouldn't
yeah.
expect him to be the catalyst for a run like this, but the Knicks have propelled themselves into the 5 spot in
Yeah.
the
They're playing
East,
good ball.
game and a half behind Cleveland for that 4 spot in the home court for the first round, and only 4 back of Philly for that 3rd spot. Then granted that's a tough reach, but the Bucks finally had their big winning streak ended,
Oh yeah.
but they are now the 1 seed in the East.
Mm-hmm.
The Nets are slowly slipping 3-7 in their last 10, like we thought
Yeah.
after all
Kind
those
of about
trades.
right.
But yeah, some interesting. The Wizards kind of playing well. They've snuck into that 10 spot for the play-in.
Yeah.
The Bulls are struggling, but kind of we knew. But yeah, over in the West, um, the Suns, unbeaten so far with
A three,
KD.
3-0. Yeah, we
3-0. Yeah, the
that's
Warriors have won 5 in a row and are now getting back Steph and
Steph
Andre
Curry.
Iguodala.
That's huge.
Yeah, so they might be ready to make a run.
Yeah.
We'll go to your Mavericks here. I want to get your opinion. What are they, 2-5 since Kyrie came on? But
Yeah, I mean, and it
just
was
yeah,
tough. Like today, I mean, we were right there with Phoenix. It's a good game. Definitely one we could have won there. Luca missed kind of a game tire towards the end there, and they got a little chippy. But we know that him and Devin Booker have a little history there. Got chippy there at the end, but you know, some of it's just them coming together. And they, they've had some big games. I would say the bigger concern with last week, who was in a 20-some point lead to the Lakers. I know it's still February,
hmm
but don't want to see that. But at the end of the day, I think that once you get in, as long as we stay where we're at and win enough to stay in the playoffs, which I don't see that being a problem. You know, Luca and Kyrie in a 7-game series is a tough out for a lot of teams. So
yeah,
I
especially
like.
they've had those nights where they've combined for over 80.
Yeah,
Uh,
like on we had the big win against Philly the other night, and they put up monster points between the
mhm.
two of them. But
But I wanted to see, yeah, as a Dallas fan, do you think? Well, obviously we don't know if he'll sign with the team this offseason
mhm.
extension or anything like that. But do you think that's the answer for y'all? To get Luka another star to play off of, or is it something that needs a bigger, more pieces to the puzzle? Do you need like maybe 2 lesser stars, not on Kyrie's level, but
Yeah.
Something, as we see kind of, the big super team era is kind of dwindling.
Right.
But
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll have a better idea just with how this plays out. I think all great teams have a definite 1-2 guys that can get you points. But I like the pieces around them. They play with a lot of energy. Maybe not the most, maybe not the most talented folks, but Tim Hardaway. He can when he's hot, he can get buckets. He shoots a lot of threes when he gets hot. He can really knock them down. Uh, we have the scoring on the inside there, but we he hasn't been as good as what I thought. I don't know why I can't think of his name we got him from Houston there. Hasn't been as big of a part of the game as what I would have thought. He's had some good moments, but I think it's just a matter of Kyrie and Luka just being who we know them to be. They're going to put up the points, and they're just going to have guys step in at different times. Last year, for the most part, a lot of a lot of the a lot of the same people there. Of course, after the trade there, um, but Jalen and Luka were your big guys. They had to get you the points, and the other guys kind of stepped in where they need be. And it's going to take that type of thing this year. I think probably the most talented combo that the Mavericks have had for a while there, for sure. It's just going to come down to them having to put up the big numbers and other guys just stepping in at the right time, give them the little things, being better. I think our biggest thing is being better defensively. Not giving up easy buckets, letting teams go on big time runs. That's going to be the biggest thing for Dallas. Just role players just playing tough defense and doing what they need to do. When they're open to knock down the shots, having them, big Hardaway having some big games and getting some points on in the inside there. But I'm not worried for the most part. I think whether Kyrie was there or not, we kind of be in that same situation. But I think as long as we're there in the playoffs, it said Kyrie and Luka's a tough out in 7 games.
absolutely, yeah. That's just, especially if those two get hot at the same time, that's
Yeah,
scary
it's
for
crazy.
anybody. Doesn't matter who.
Yeah, but
And as we mentioned, right now Dallas, they sit in the 7th seed, just
right.
a half game back of Minnesota though to get out of that play in.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think
you know,
that's what
that's
you want.
big.
You
Yeah,
don't want
that's
to be in
big.
that
You want to get out
play.
of that play in. Yeah. My Pels now find themselves in the same spot they were in last year. They were in the 10 spot, but able to
Mm-hmm.
play themselves in. Bit by the injury bug, not just Zion, but Jonas is out now. Jose
Mm-hmm.
Alvarado, obviously,
It's been
yeah, it's a little bit of everybody kind of getting bit by the injury bug, and they're playing through it. Bi is starting to get, Ingram's starting to get hot and playing really well.
right.
So they kind of same problems that you mentioned with Dallas. It's defensive right now. That early season intensity they had is kind of
Mm-hmm.
they've fallen back to the mean.
Right.
They just got to get back on rhythm and
For sure.
start shutting teams down. They blew a big lead themselves. I think one of the big things for them, unfortunate to see it happen this way, but the Lakers dealt a big blow with LeBron James's injury.
Oh yeah.
He'll miss the majority of the rest of the regular season. And right now, the Lakers are 1 game back of the Pels for that final play-in spot. And,
Mm-hmm.
that's big in 2 ways. One, obviously, for New Orleans, you want to make the play-in tournament, or at least to try to,
Oh yeah.
they're only 2 back of Minnesota for the 6th
Yeah.
seed. So that's, like we've mentioned before, that's a cluttered, after
Yeah.
Denver, blown away. If you even from Memphis in the 2 spot down to New
Yeah.
Orleans in the 10 spot, that's only, hell, even if you count the Lakers, that's only a 9-game
Yeah.
difference.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of teams within each
That's a
other.
lot.
And
Yeah.
if you shrink it down some, Golden State with the 5 seed right now,
Mm-hmm.
they're only 3 games ahead of New Orleans in the
Exactly.
10 spot. So that's a lot of shuffling that could be left to be done, a lot of games left.
Exactly.
But yeah, double for New Orleans. You obviously also want to see the Lakers miss the play-in, so that pick the New Orleans has the pick swap rights. You want to see that Lakers pick end up in the lottery.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
give you a chance at a better pick, either to trade or just get another young, talented guy on a cheap contract there.
Exactly.
Elsewhere, just looking at teams, we mentioned Golden State's hot, 5 in a row, and they're getting Steph and Andre Iguodala back. That's dangerous for the rest of the West. The Kings still having their improbable season. They're still playing great. They're still holding on to that 3 seed there.
They have a lot of young talent. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is fun guy to watch.
Absolutely. The Jazz somehow still playing hot. The Clippers kind of, they got, actually they've lost 5 in a row, so they're not hot anymore since, they got Russ, and now they're 0-5 since he joined. But they're attempted the big 3 with Russell Westbrook and, Kawhi and Paul George. We'll see.
But that whole Clippers thing, they just haven't been the same since since was it Denver that upset them there in that in the bubble. They just hasn't been the same feel for the Clippers. At that point, if they had won that series and then went on to play the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, even though it was in the bubble, LA versus LA, and if they had pulled that, I think we're looking at a much different overall just feel of the Clippers. Things kind of slipped away after that, and they really haven't ever gotten that back.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those that kind of snake bites franchise, and it's hard to recover from those crippling losses sometimes. But you see, there's some a young team like OKC. They're fighting hard. SGA, he's just such a talented player.
Is a talented guy, and a lot of casual fans probably don't know much about him. But man, if you get a chance, and then I know they're not on national TV a lot, but if you get a chance to even catch his highlights, man, he is a fun watch.
That's a team, if their young guys gel, and maybe they can take some of those trade pieces they have with a couple young guys and all those picks they have, and add a couple real solid veterans or maybe one star veteran to that squad, and they'll get Chet Holmgren next year, hopefully healthy, and we'll see what he's made of.
I almost forgot that. That man.
Exactly. We don't even realize they got one of the a possible unicorn, a guy that maybe isn't built for the NBA, but also could be just a freak of nature, and they're one of those young teams you never know. And again, they're a game and a half back in New Orleans for that 10 spot. Portland is a game and a half back right there, tied with them, and they got Dame. And anytime you got Dame Lillard on the team,
what did he drop? 71. 71. Yeah, that was incredible. My goodness.
Dame's just still somehow one of the more underappreciated scorers and players in the league.
I think that's just being in Portland more than anything.
Yeah,
he was.
If he was in New York or LA or some big, Chicago or something like that, but his loyalty to that city is, admirable and kind of rare in these days. But you do wish all the best for him. Obviously not at the expense of one of our teams, but maybe if the Clippers or Jazz choke out, let's get Portland in. Of course, I don't want to see Portland in the play-in.
That's a team you don't want to see in a play-in, because Dame Lillard goes 50-60, you might see yourself out of playoffs real quick, and not what you want to see if you're in that situation, for sure.
Yeah, especially in that play-in, when you how it works. If for anybody listening unfamiliar, that 7 and 8 team plays and 9 and 10 team plays. The winner of the 7-8 team is the 7th seed. They're in the playoffs. And then the loser of that game goes on to play the winner of the 9-10 game.
Yeah.
And that's how, New Orleans got in last year to end up playing Phoenix and, going toe-to-toe with them.
Clippers, when they beat
beat the Clippers, beat the Spurs, and then the Clippers, So, like right now, those matchups would be Dallas would host the Clippers, and then the Jazz would host the Pelicans. And like you said, that's... It's kind of a fun concept. I get the argument against it, that if you're, especially I think with last year, and right now, again, there's a game and a half that separates Dallas and New Orleans, and in the East, it's 3 games that separate Miami and Washington. And your argument against it is that if you're the 7 or 8 seed, you played all 82 games and you earned that spot. And I get why that's kind of I get the arguments against it, and maybe as a coach I'd be against it, but also it's exciting and fun for the
Oh
fans.
yeah, it's fun. And that, I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like every league is trying to see, what works, what's going to bring the casual fan in to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Because that when they do things like that, they're not looking at us or your big NBA fan that's going to watch the NBA playoffs regardless. They're looking for the people that want have maybe not never sold on the NBA or kind of gotten away from the NBA, and they trying to get them in, or the young people. Oh, kind of like the NCAA tournament feel. I mean, I
Exactly.
understand why they're doing it. And every pro league is looking to keep up with the NFL. We know the NFL is king. Everybody else is trying to do what they can to make themselves relevant. I mean, a lot of the changes. You look even at baseball. All the pitch counts and everything they're doing, or the clock and everything like that, trying to speed up the game. It's not for the big baseball fans. It's for to see if we can pull in Joe Blow who doesn't really watch baseball, or say, oh, the game's too long, or something like that. That's what all these changes are for, is to pull in the average fan that's not going to watch every game. So
Exactly. It's for your casual fan. It's for those TV numbers that go up. It's for those
right.
streaming numbers that go up.
It's
Maybe
for the
someone,
social media presence and everything.
yeah, like a little more engagement. And that's just the way it is now, especially
That's
in
the way of the
American
world.
sports. You're never
Yeah.
going to see an American sports league reduce the number of playoff teams.
No,
As maybe as better as it would be for competition's sake, it's just not going to happen.
not going to happen.
The NFL is never going back from 7 teams in each league. If
No.
anything, they're going to go up.
Right. If anything, we're going to get to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just the way it is, and it does make for exciting TV a lot.
Right.
But yeah. You got anything else in the NBA?
NBA, we're just getting to that crunch time. We're going to, games are going to start mattering more. And I think it's going to be fun in both Eastern and Western Conference. It's going to be a fun run to the finish. And then I think we're going to have some epic playoff matchups coming up.
For sure. A couple, let's see, interesting games tonight. Portland's playing at Orlando, another
Mm-hmm.
young team that can be spry from time to time. Jazz and Thunder play. The Knicks and Celtics, a big one tonight on
That is a big
ESPN.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, Grizzlies and Clippers. So yeah, a couple of fun games just tonight, and then of course this week coming up, a lot of tough games. I notice my Pelicans, they got a tough schedule just this week alone. They at Sacramento tomorrow night, host your Mavericks Wednesday night. That's a big ESPN game.
Yeah.
And then they got to host OKC next Saturday. So it's crunch time. It's where all those
That's,
games matter now.
oh, yes. It start mattering. You get into
Yeah,
March and it's not. Yeah, I look at it. March is kind of where you got time to really turn things on. You can't really we're still in February. Oh, we're still in January. Now it's March. You only have one
mm-hmm.
more month left in the regular season, and you really gotta step your game up, and you hope folks get healthy as much as possible, because all you need all hands on board when it comes to the playoff push and then the playoffs. And this way you want to see teams playing their best ball, and any chemistry issues or new people coming together, you want to see them gel, because I mean that's what you're basing your success on, is KD in Phoenix, Kyrie in Dallas, situations like that. So
No, yeah, it's just that fun time of year. Everything matters.
right,
It's amped up so much more.
for
Not so
sure.
many stars sitting. There's not a lot of load management going on right now.
All right,
At least for the teams still compete for spots. But
exactly.
let's see what else going on in the world of sports. We can touch on quick. Yeah, I think you mentioned it. MLB spring training's going on now. Experiment with the new rules. The shift ban and then the pitch clock. We've seen a couple crazy endings so far.
Oh,
Pitchers, games ending because of a walk called or a strike 3 called or something like that on batters or pitchers. So players are getting used to that. We haven't seen
yeah.
anybody really blow up over it yet, but I'm sure there's going to be a big argument at
It'll
some
come
point.
at some point. Some point it'll come.
Yeah, so we'll
Um,
see that. Spring training is spring training.
Spring training, yeah, you do. Yeah,
Um,
not a not too much you get from spring training other than these rule changes. See if that really has any effect on games at all. And then other things going on, the NFL Combine.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the biggest story is just, and someone's gonna draft him high, man. Anthony Richardson killed the Combine.
Oh yeah, setting records for quarterbacks in the combine. And he went from a guy that might have snuck into the first round to now
Top
that
10.
there was talk about him as the top pick overall, or at least a top 10. So it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, but he definitely did everything he could to put him in the money because,
Exactly,
yeah,
and good for
we
him.
know, yeah, good for him. We know teams love combine over film sometimes.
Exactly, because
Just the hype of the brand.
if you watch
Yeah.
some Florida games this year, you were wondering like this guy.
And then there's other moments you're like, man, he is a star. Like he's
You
as
get you get the talent.
you see the talent at times. It's like, man, this guy is really great. And other times you're like, what the heck is just happened?
Exactly.
But I think some of it just has to do with all the coaching changes, and really, this was his only year to be the actual starter at Florida. So, and two different coaching schemes altogether. So I think that plays into it a little bit. But man, he put himself in a good situation, and it'll be interesting to see because we know if anybody loves potential, it's NFL GMs.
Oh yeah, they love and he's got that size. 6'4",
Oh,
around
oh
two
yeah, he has
forty.
a great build.
Great build. The
Half
numbers he set that were so spectacular. He jumped. His vertical was 40.5 inches
yeah,
and ran a 4.43 40, which is
Holland,
just that's
crazy.
hauling, especially for a big guy like that. That's
For a big
hauling.
side, man. Yeah, he's gonna truck some people.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so he, like we said, he jumped from maybe sneaking in the back end of the first round to he's going to be like a top 10 guy,
Oh yeah,
especially with so many teams that need quarterbacks that high.
oh yeah,
You got the Texans, the Colts, the Falcons, the Panthers. All these teams that are in
yeah,
the top 10 that just
exactly.
need the Jets.
Yeah, who knows what the Jets are gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah, as far as and then there was what was else I wanted to. Oh, the other thing, another guy that maybe teams love from tape and measurements and workouts, and then you watch games, and you're like, Will Levis, Kentucky quarterback, talented, can throw the hell out of a ball.
Yeah,
Have you seen
he
this
might.
week where it came out? He's afraid of milk, like deathly afraid. Like will scream if it's on his plate or something like that. Like just one of the craziest things I've seen.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The guy that puts mayo in his coffee.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
People are weird,
Well,
man. It's fun.
but
Athletes in general.
right. But yeah, that's a dude. Like sometimes you see it, but I don't know. And some of the people look at it and say, well, he was injured a lot in the 22 season, and they're looking a lot more at his 21 film. But I have yet to see it. I thought when Kentucky was rolling 2 years ago, a lot of it was on the defense and the running game more than him. I thought he was more of a game manager. He did things. Last year was more on him. They didn't have the running game or the offensive line they thought they were going to have, and I more put on him, and you saw a lot of mistakes. Someone's going to go high on him as well. Kuiper and
Mm-hmm.
and that's the other thing. I don't know how many GMs actually look at people's draft, the media draft boards. I don't know how much that factors into their thoughts. Some people it might, others definitely don't look at it. So I guess that's a team by team thing. But he's high on McShade's and Kuiper draft boards, and a lot of people have a lot of good things to say about Will Levis. We know he has a strong arm. I just don't see it. If I'm a GM, I'm not putting my job on the line with Will Levis. I'm sorry, I'm just not. I
Yeah,
just
that's
don't.
it. Again, I'm with you. That's one of those that you're like, I just don't know. Um,
Hey,
I
hey,
just don't know if I see it. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. As a league that's so QB centric and everything revolves around the QB, I'm not tying myself to that guy. I don't see him as a franchise guy, franchise changer. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I just don't see it.
I was about to say, yeah, we could be. We've been wrong before. Obviously, anytime we pick something on here, predict. But
Right. So Will
there's
Levis,
probably a reason
rookie
that
of
we're
the
doing a
year.
podcast for free, and these guys
Yeah,
are paid a lot of money to make
paid a
these
lot of
picks.
money to
But
do right. I don't know.
But
I
yeah,
just
if you
don't see
see,
it.
like the latest Kuiper mock has Houston trading up for that one spot to get Bryce, which,
Yeah. Like,
we learned the big story with him coming out of this is, how small he is, his size. But if you watch Bryce play, that's one of those things that it don't matter. Yeah.
okay, way bigger.
They got
Yeah.
Indy selecting CJ Stroud at number 2. Will Anderson Jr. going number 3 to Arizona. Jalen Carter going to Chicago at 4. Of course, that's dependent on his legal troubles.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how much how much that'll have an effect on him
Yeah,
now or long term or not. So we'll
I
see.
think there's some investigation. He's been charged with reckless driving and racing, I think, and but I think it's still, I don't know if he's going to be
Yeah.
legally
No,
responsible for any of the wreck or anything like that. But also,
because of
Will Levis going number 5 in this latest pick to Carolina. Let's see what other quarterbacks here in
if
the top
I'm a
10.
Carolina fan, I'm like, no. What are we
Yeah,
doing?
just a lot of yeah. Since Cam Newton's left, that's just a rotating cast of
Yes.
quarterbacks that they've tried to get right and have not.
All right.
Here
I
it is.
mean,
That's who I was looking for. Richardson, and the latest mock is 9th to Seattle. Which
that
might be,
might be
that could be a
interesting.
good spot. Yeah,
That could work out. Sit
let him
beside
back up Gino, let him
Gino.
learn.
Yeah. I'm gonna
So
give him
that's,
a couple of years. Might be the guy.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting. I'm trying
that's
to
not a
follow.
guy you want to. That's not a guy you want to throw into the mix. You're right away. You don't want to put him right in there. You want to
No,
let him
yeah.
sit. You want to put him in a situation where he can learn behind somebody. That'd be a perfect situation for him, I'd say. If give him some chance to learn. Well, watch for a little bit, and then eventually has his day, 2 3 years. Because a lot of these guys, a lot of these quarterbacks, we're so quick to call them busts and everything of that nature. But it's all about the situation they go into. It's the reason why the Jets are always picking a quarterback every couple of years. It's not necessarily the quarterback, because
Mm-hmm.
and I heard this somewhere. But you think of the likes of the busts that we've seen at quarterback situation. We've seen um, a couple of these Ohio State guys. We've seen it with some of the New York quarterbacks,
Mm-hmm.
the Jets situation. You put them in Kansas City, you put them in San Francisco. We're not. They're not. I don't think we're calling them busts because they're going to make it. 'Cause it's all about the system you're put into. you know.
Exactly, yeah. It's about making the most of the talent you do have. And like
All
you
right.
said, a lot of this, and some of it's, unfair to call some of these guys, bust when they just ended up in a bad situation and were
Yeah.
done wrong.
Right.
You know, I mean, look at Tua a couple years before this year. People were ready to write him off, call him a bust,
Right.
and then he finally gets the right situation. And when he's healthy, when he's not getting his head slammed in turf, he's
He's
maybe the most
what we're
explosive
talking about.
offense in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he's back at Alabama at times in that
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins offense this past season. And
Yeah.
then there's gonna be guys don't live up to the hype. That's just part of the league. But we were so quick to call people bust, and it's only been like 2 3 years. When we were younger, and that's kind of back in my day, and get off my lawn type of talk. But rookies weren't expected to come in and play by week 5 to save your team. They sat, they learned, they held the clipboard for a while, and then they
Mm-hmm.
get in there after a couple years. There's so much pressure on these guys, and they only have a year or two to really show that they're the guy, or they're out, and they're on to the next draft and the next guy, and it's just an endless cycle because we so QB centric, and you know don't think some. I mean, it's cool for the draft talk, and it's that's where we're headed, and that's where we're gonna be at. But I think it really puts a lot of pressure that necessarily doesn't need to be there, because the fans and the front office is just so impatient and
Mm-hmm.
think that, oh, we have to have our Joe Burrow. We saw what Joe Burrow did. We've seen what Mahomes had done. Those are once in a lifetime guys. That's not for everybody. Not everybody's Joe Burrow. Definitely not everybody's gonna be Pat Mahomes. Like, you're gonna have to calm down and realize who you are, And then also, what's around the guy? If there's no talent, if he doesn't have a line, if he doesn't have a good one, a talented wide receiver, what can you expect him to do?
Mm-hmm.
Just like in Chicago, people were calling to to give to they should draft another quarterback at the one spot. Like, what do you? Why?
Exactly.
He's
We've seen flashes of what Justin Fields can do.
yeah, yeah. Justin
Absolutely
Fields is a
amazing. And
talented guy.
get him some real receivers. Yeah.
Get him an offensive line. He's running for his
Mm,
life.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
how? Like people are talking about, they should move away from Justin Fields. What? What? How is that even a thought right now? Like he's literally in his second year in the league, and at times had phenomenal phenomenal games, phenomenal situations. He kept the Bears in games that the Bears probably had no business being part of. They traded everybody on the defensive side. Like, like they have no number one receiver. Guys you never even heard of catching balls from. Like it's crazy.
It's just one of those crazy things. The NFL draft is such a crapshoot a lot of times,
Oh
and
yeah,
like we talked about, it's all about right situation and surrounding these guys, particularly,
yeah.
with the right talent. You got to protect them. You got to get them weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, of course, draft's a few weeks away, so we'll learn more about that
Yeah.
coming down the line. Some other, no real big free agent stuff yet. Aaron Rodgers emerged from his darkness retreat or
dark,
whatever.
dark. Yeah.
Still
30 days in
hasn't
the
made
dark.
a decision. The Giants are, weighing whether they should bring back Daniel Jones or not.
That's a big $40 million. Or wow.
Yeah, it's whopping, especially, with the franchise tag. That's a lot.
That's a
Of
lot.
course, maybe the biggest one, obviously, is Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. And, are they going to come to an agreement on a long-term contract? Or are they going to franchise tag him and play a year?
Yeah.
Are they going to franchise tag him and trade him? Which, no, I mean, you can't. I know. Look, Lamar is a generational talent. You have to, especially
No.
now that you have a new coordinator in, you have to see what you get. You have to get him, another receiver. You have to figure out, how he's going to look in this new offense. Even
Exactly.
if maybe you just play him under the franchise for a year.
You
You
gotta
can't.
try to make it work. You can't bail
I don't.
because
And
that's just not.
because especially, and you could say, well, right now is the most you can get for him in a trade. I don't care. You get 7 first-round picks and whatever. That's still
You
the
don't know
unknown.
anything about those guys.
Exactly. So now we're drafting another young guy that may or may not work out. Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson's already got a unanimous MVP under his belt. We've seen what
we've
he can do. He has
seen
broken records.
he's healthy. We've seen the difference in the Ravens. We
Hmm.
saw him miss the playoffs because Lamar wasn't there last year. We saw him barely make the playoffs this year because Lamar wasn't out there.
Yeah, we've
Like
seen them. Yeah, it's ridiculous that if you look at the statistical splits
the
between when he's
night
on
and
the
day,
field for them and when he's not on the
it's a whole
field, it's
different team.
ridiculous. And they haven't even begun really to unlock his
Yeah,
full potential as a
yeah.
quarterback. Again,
Give
I've
that man the
stressed it.
number one.
I've stressed it time and time again on this podcast. He was a pass first quarterback at college at
Yeah,
Louisville when he won the Heisman Trophy. Yeah, he scrambled for a
Petrino
lot of
is a
yards.
yeah, but Petrino is a pass heavy guy.
And
It's
he
no
runs a
secret.
complicated offense. It's
Yeah,
based off a lot of reads and stuff. So Lamar can make them. And
yeah,
that's why I said last time out, I like the Todd Monken hire. I like him. Get
yeah,
Lamar get his receivers healthy, get his offensive line healthy, get his running backs healthy, get him another weapon in the passing game. This latest draft, they had Zay Flowers from Boston College.
mm-hmm,
That's a great pick to me. That's a kind of similar to Hollywood Brown, with
mm-hmm,
just a guy that can take the top off the defense. And if Rashad Bateman's healthy, hopefully you can extend Lamar long term and
yeah.
work that
Get
salary
all that.
cap. So maybe you can go get a guy like Odell Beckham or some more veteran presence in free agency.
Yeah,
And then you come out with a receiving core of, Mark Andrews at tight end and Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, a first round pick, and then maybe a veteran guy. And then you have
yeah.
weapons for Lamar. You get a fully healthy J.K. Dobbins, who the last few games of this season was averaging like 5 yards a carry. We
Exactly.
talked about him, voicing his displeasure at those play calls in the Cincinnati game where in that quarterback
they
sneak fumble,
they
give him the
give him
ball
that
4
ball.
times, they score.
They might go on. They go on to Buffalo instead.
Exactly, yeah. That's a lot of so yeah, just I don't think you can trade Lamar this year
No,
without finding out what you have with this new offense.
definitely can't trade him. You at
Yeah.
least give a year, and in the long term situation, I mean, if they get rid of Lamar, that's gonna be one of those things. I think we'll look back in 20 years, and everybody's gonna be like, "What in the world was that?"
Especially, yeah, you trade him to Atlanta or wherever these destinations are talking about, and he goes on to win a Super Bowl somewhere else.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's your legacy right
That's
there. That's Eric. If
that's
you're Eric
great.
DaCosta, that's your legacy. You're the guy
That's
that
your
traded
legacy. You're
Lamar
the
Jackson
guy that got
away.
rid of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think you want
watched
to
him
be
win a
that.
title with another team.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be that guy.
Yeah, no.
You don't want to be that guy. I just don't see it. Like I
Yeah, and
see
even
that this guy.
exactly. And for me, you sign him, and I granted, I know there's difficulties because he represents himself, and there's the disagreement on the fully guaranteed contract, and I get their hesitation that he's missed the last 5 games the past 2 seasons. But also, as I think I've mentioned before, I think part of that is because he's been a run first offense that kind of made him an option quarterback when that's not necessarily his
It's not what.
game. His most dangerous running is unexpected running. Like, obviously, yes, you can use Lamar Jackson in like a read option sense. And if he sees a hole and takes it, he's going to give you spectacular plays.
Exactly.
But his best running ability is when he drops back to pass, sees that, there's nothing there, and he is, oh wait, they're in man coverage. All the defensive backs have their back of their heads pointed at me, and then boom,
Oh yeah,
30 yards
most
later,
definitely. Oh yeah, most
yeah.
definitely.
But yeah, other quarterback stuff. We'll move on.
We'll see Derek Carr. See what he
Yeah,
ends up.
Derek Carr. We'll see what happens there. Panthers, Jets, Saints are all, in there. So we'll see. He did get cut right officially, so he is free agency. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
they got
so
rid of him.
we'll see what the Raiders then do. Are they going to try to trade for themselves? Are they going to trade up in the draft? I seen Jimmy
Yeah.
Garoppolo as a name that, might end
Yeah,
up in
he's
Las Vegas.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's just we'll see. Will Geno Smith resign in Seattle?
Yeah,
Who do the Chiefs and Eagles add to try to keep at the top?
yeah,
But all
so
that's in the coming weeks in NFL time. And again, obviously, we mentioned Aaron Rodgers coming out of his darkness retreat, so we'll see if he
yeah,
stays in Green Bay again, or if if that relationship is finally broken up and he ends up in
that'll be
New York.
interesting.
Yeah,
It's been a weird. It's been a weird couple of seasons in Green Bay. Like
yeah,
I don't know. I've never seen so much disgruntlement from between the management and the quarterback before.
yeah. And you talk
Just
about a guy that went from kind of like wholesome, everybody likes this guy, to like everyone's like, oh god, this shit again.
yeah.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has been it.
Yeah,
So we'll
man.
see what
At one
happens
point, I
there.
mean, everybody was like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers, he's a fun guy. He's a good guy." And now everybody's like, "Oh, that asshole."
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so we'll see that. Like we mentioned, the drafts at the end of this month. We got some.
Yeah. And yeah, first
Yeah, it's
mid-April, I believe, usually.
yeah, it's usually around when my wife and I go down New Orleans to work the Jazz Fest down there. It's usually I think one of those weekends we're all
So yeah,
watching.
but
But yeah, so we'll see.
it's always fun. All the free agency moves, and then I'm a draft nerd myself. I just love watching all the boards and
Mm-hmm.
seeing where everybody goes, and I'm one of those guys that even watches on Saturday when things,
Oh yeah,
everybody's like,
that's
"Who is
day
that
3.
guy?"
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
those
it's
are some
fun.
of the fun ones, I mean, obviously this year we saw it. Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, ended up being a big part of the Niners' success this year.
Oh yeah,
No, yeah, I was actually going
take
to say
their
on
ass.
this latest Kuiper mock draft, some interesting
Uh-huh.
picks. Joey Porter Jr. to Pittsburgh, and which seems perfect for them, obviously.
Perfect. Yeah.
I hate it as a Ravens fan because that's a great cornerback. I feel that would,
Man, he might be the best cornerback of this draft.
help out that defense. See, I mentioned the Ravens projected with Zay Flowers from Boston College. That's a good speed guy there. Your Cowboys. Dalton Kincaid, a tight end from Utah, possibly replacing Dalton Schultz if he goes to free agency.
Right. But
Um,
we just drafted a tight end, so I mean, we just got the guy from Iowa. So
he
I
does
don't.
say in it, and this seems like something that Jerry would absolutely do, but Kuiper mentions another possibility would be Bijan Robinson, maybe to replace Ezekiel
Go the
Elliott.
cheap route.
Yeah,
Go the cheap rookie route. Because I know this is
yeah.
a big thing we're going to franchise. Yeah, but Zeke said, he'll take the pay cut. I don't know, how true all that is.
Mhm.
You see that throwing
Yeah,
that
it's
many
especially
spots. But
you read some reports and kind of rumors coming out of other players or people around the league, anonymous sources saying that his legs are gone.
yeah,
So we'll see there. Kuiper actually mocked Robinson to the next pick after the Cowboys to Buffalo, and I'll tell you what, that's a
that's
scary piece to
scary,
add to that offense.
right? Because they have. 'Cause that's been their thing is can they get a consistent running game to go along with that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, and he
Yeah,
can catch out the backfield too. Like wow,
yeah, and then
that's definitely really scary.
as an
That might
Alabama
be what.
fan, you're wondering how many. We obviously know Bryce and Will are going to go top
Oh
four,
yeah.
if not top 1, 2,
And
3.
where does Jameer go? Like,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
you're
Does
not even
Jameer
he
Gibbs
goes
sneak into that first round? Does Brian Branch sneak into that first round?
because Brian Branch did a lot
Mm-hmm.
in that bowl game, like as far
Oh
as
yeah.
building his. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, Jameer Gibbs, I mean, just what he brings is the AK Alvin Kamara type back, and fits what the NFL is looking for these days. Can run the ball, catch, speed guy. That'll be. You would think a lot of teams towards the middle end of the first round may start looking that way if they're need some pickup there on the offense, especially.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you got anything else, NFL or any other sports?
Uh, it's just exciting conference. We talked earlier, conference tournaments heating up there. A lot of the mid majors going down. We'll get into the big boys later on this week. That's always fun. Watch the South Carolina game. They handled Tennessee pretty handily to go on another undefeated, and they've kind of become the UConn of college basketball, women's college basketball. They're kind of the dominant force, and everybody's kind of playing
Mm-hmm.
to stay within relevance of them. And the women's basketball has picked up a lot as far as the overall competitiveness, and just it's not two teams anymore. But South Carolina is kind of a heads and shoulders above everybody, kind of in that national championship or it's a failure type of program. But it's a lot of for the women's game. It's actually picked up a lot in the last 10 years. That's a lot of programs have become bigger names, or it's a lot more competitiveness. It's not just one two teams, but South Carolina they're on a different level. So it's been fun to watch at times this year. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't sleep on a women's game if you do. If you're a listener, there's a lot of great, fun talent to watch in that, and especially
a
with
lot of
those
fun
great
time.
teams like South Carolina, it's fun to watch like that kind of
Yeah.
1 versus 63. Like
Oh
let's see
yeah,
if they
because
can
they're
really do it.
yeah, because I mean that'd be what their second national title in a row, like three in the last four or something like that. I mean, they're on a special level right now. But if you like fundamental basketball, everybody complains about fundamental. The women's game way more fundamentally sound these days.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's it. So we'll go as usual. What's been done up real good for you since last time we talked?
Done up for me really good. I would say just my daughter's involvement in this. It's called a Science Olympiad, kind of a uh, contest that they had their first contest, and they'll have a regional and then the state competition coming up, and just her involvement in that has been, fun to watch. Smart kid, and proud dad here with the Science Olympiad. What about you?
Yeah. About the same. I mentioned at the beginning, mother-in-law's good Sunday dinner, early
Mhm.
lunch today.
Yeah,
That
for
filled
sure.
me up. Little boy just turned 4 months old this week.
That's
He's starting to
awesome.
kind of make those little baby talking to you, and smiling a lot. Discovered his hand, so that's always fun to watch him just stare at his hand.
Sure.
He's hanging out, we in town with his cousin today. His my brother-in-law and his wife had their kid 9 days before us. So
Oh wow.
so grandma's just happy as a pig in mud.
Oh yeah.
She gets a couple
That's good too. They
grandbabies.
can grow up together and hang out and stuff like that. So that's good.
So, yeah, that's all good. And then from a fan's perspective, Arsenal still making their run toward a Premier League title. Amazing come from behind win yesterday, down 2-0 to Bournemouth. Yeah, a team they shouldn't have been, but gave up the second fastest goal in Premier League history, like 9 point some seconds into the game. Got down 2-0 and then won it in the 97th minute, like literally the last kick of the game. If you could look it up, if you just love to watch stadium reactions for big plays, that's just amazing to watch. Like it just explodes, camera shaking, little kid runs onto the pitch to high five the coach. It's just everybody's going crazy. Just every player on the team like running different directions. Just
that's one thing. Like we say, we're passionate fans, but man, we have nothing on soccer fans.
Oh no, yeah. When you really think about it too, it's funny. Anybody that ever kind of questions it, it's like, well, you think about, the rest of the world, in America, we're spoiled here at sport. We got football, baseball, hockey, basketball, soccer to a degree. We got all these sports. In England, other countries, it's soccer, and then it's maybe cricket or basketball or baseball. But it's
exactly
so, especially just the history of these towns and neighborhoods within cities that are so connected to their squads, their clubs. It's real fun to watch. But yeah, if you're just someone that likes to watch, big reactions from stadiums, watch that highlight of that game-winning goal. Arsenal scored by Reece Nelson, a guy who's barely played at all this year, just kind of a bench guy, a fringe guy that has been his whole career since, his youth academy days at Arsenal. Scores definitely the biggest goal of his career so far. Keeps them ahead of Manchester City in the title race. And that's getting down to crunch time too. They're within last few, let's see, about 12, 13 games left on the schedule for everybody there in England. And then, Champions League starting to ramp up. So fun time coming if you're a soccer fan for European stuff. Women's World Cup is coming this summer. 12 games left in the Premier League schedule. So that's what done up. It was real fun to wake up and, feeding the kid and, making sure you don't, throw him in the air celebrating. But yeah, he's good. But yeah, so that's it for me. As always, folks, thank you for listening, especially this week. We went a lot longer than I thought we would, but some good conversation, good talks. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're listening to everything that the Alabama Take family of podcasts has to offer. And we always shout them out, taking it down for all your pop culture TV movie needs. Alabama Slam for all your wrestling needs. I think there was a new episode of Check Your Shelf recently for your literary fans. So we got everything, and then of course check the website for rankings. Fairly certain we will be doing a tournament bracket challenge, so pay attention to our Twitter feed, which again we have at Taking On Sports on Twitter. Finally up and got us a social media account. Pay attention to that. I do believe we give out, old Blaine gives out a free t-shirt to the winner, something like that, or some free Alabama Take paraphernalia of your choosing. But as always, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. We'll maybe, I don't know about next week. I think I'm on the road out of town. But maybe the week after if we go to every other week schedule here. But we'll definitely, I imagine the bulk of what we talk about next time will be NCAA tournament basketball.
Oh, yeah, we'll be in the heart of it if we go 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, heart of it. And if Alabama plays in Birmingham, I tell you, I will be there, folks.
Oh, boy. That will be huge.
Yeah, huge. But as always, thank you for listening, Greg, buddy. We'll see you next time.
Sure. See you, buddy.